Well, good morning, folks. How are we doing? I'm going to turn this off while I'm doing this so you can actually hear me. Okay, what you can see is I use color on all my pictures right here, which is kind of fun. And I'm going to try to move these around so you can at least see them, or better than they were. There we go. So much for really kind of professional looking studio. Or professional looking something while I'm working. Okay, I'm gonna move this stuff here. So as you can see, I got all my work pretty much lined up. Let me see, where are you at? Right here. Okay, I'm gonna move this over here. I'm gonna move these out of the way. And so all my work, basically, when we do this, is gonna be all set up. Okay, and there we go. Okay, now I've always talked about my color, how I use lots of color, and how I'm always doing that. So what you see here is you do opposites. So my last color was the purple, which in my world I would consider a dark or a kind of mid-range cool color. So purple, as you can see, it's kind of warm, but it's not warm, not like a red or a yellow or something like that. So, but that's kind of on the dark side. So I need to go light, and I need to go warm. So as you can see, it really warms up here. So I'm going to come in here, and just where the light, come in here and just kind of wash it in. Not on the complete white side, light side, but basically over top of wherever the light is going to hit. I want to pull that in there. So as you can see what it did with that. So if I come over here and look at my reference, I have these areas here, and when I go really dark or really light, that's going to stand out. So I'm going to go halfway. And as you see, I can use it off my finger too. I'm going to go between. I can also use a yellow in here, but I go opposite. So if I do a light, I do a dark, or if I do a dark, I do a light. If I do a warm, I do a cool. So I did dark, I'm doing a light, warm. So when I go back in, I'll do a dark cool, which will probably be a, I'll have to think here a second. Maybe I'll do a green. That's cool and dark, like a phthalo green or something like that. I'm gonna come in here like this. See, all I'm doing is I'm just tapping in these places. Now, what also is you seeing here when I'm doing this? When you're looking at my work, it's all looking kind of consistent, right? It doesn't look any different. The only thing that here is there's no backgrounds. I never seem to do backgrounds on my work. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to warm that up here. I'm not going to pull it directly into the highlighted areas. I think it's important I do this right here. And for all you novices out there, people who don't do a lot of painting, before I even touch my brush here, I'm looking exactly where I want. So right now I'm going to come down and work in this area. And again, I'm going to come here. And there we go. And also I got this back area here, so I'll pull this here. And it's a translucent color, so that makes it nicer because all those colors then, as I go really dark and really light, really warm, really cool, those colors will stand out and jump. So I'll move this over here so I can hit this last one. Okay, so last one here, and then I'll pull open this one I got sitting down. Okay, come down here, and I'm going to come here. I kind of use my hand like a palette. I can even put some warm in here, but the real purpose of it is to give it almost like that light just barely hitting it type of look. So when I cool this thing off, it'll have even a better feel to it. In areas where it's light all the way around, you need to go a little dark. I'll put it here like so. Okay, then the last one, which is this one. Yeah. And this is also a way of keeping consistent with your work, so it looks like one painter did it, not 37 painters. Okay. So I'm coming in here. Now, something that we all run into is when we see a picture photograph, we see the eyes here really detailed and stuff like this. But if we paint it like that, it has a tendency of just looking almost like clown eyes. And this will have a really good feel to it too. So if you think about the light hitting it here, that could be the shadow, that could be the almost that orangey color coming into it. It always has that kind of like morning look, or I would say morning look more than evening look. So that's what I'm shooting for today. I'm going to come in here, I'm going to do his belly a little bit. And I'm also blurring my vision. So, you know, as I'm doing this, I'm kind of imagining what it's going to look like as all said and done. You see how it kind of changes through here too. So if I come in here and I just play with this color a little bit, I can have a lot of fun with it. But again, if I have too much fun with it, then it overpowers this color. This color is really a dominant color because when you put it on, you see it. There isn't one picture here you don't see it, and you can see how it affects all of them, you know. And it might be like when I come back in here, you know, I really hit it kind of hard here because it's light there on that reference. You can't really see the reference, but I'm kind of hitting it on that. There we go. Okay, now how long did I work? I didn't work very long, so that's the whole purpose. You should never want to work very long, and you don't want to lose your caps. There it is. Well, that's one of them. I don't think it's the right one. No, it's not the right one. Okay, I need to, oh, there it is. Okay. Now, two things. You notice I didn't use a palette. Okay, I didn't use a palette because I never use a palette, and I think palettes are just an excuse for wasting paint. And in fact, actually, if you really want to get specific, I think this is the most paint I waste is on my caps as I close them up. So I never get rid of my caps. I always just make sure I clear that off. There's different ways of clearing this off. You can use a putty knife, a palette knife, you can use your fingernails. I just try not to press too hard because I don't want to push out the paint out the top. I want the cap to go back on it. See, there we go. Tearing off all that really icky stuff there. That way the cap goes on, and I don't have to worry about it. There we go. Yeah. Okay, so now I went warm. Now if I'm going to do cool, I want to use phthalo green. Phthalo green has a kind of nice property to it because when I use it, I'll put it right next to my orange in my hand. You can see this. See what happens? It gets this really beautiful shade on there. On top of that, it's very translucent, so it has a real nice look to it. It does condense down an awful lot when you're painting, so that's one thing you want to keep in mind. So if I come in here now, I have to go really into the dark areas. So if I'm looking at this one right here, okay, the dark areas are definitely here, and I'm going to come here, and these are also recessive areas too. And I'm going to use this I'm going to come in here. And you can kind of see what it does right there. It darkens it up nicely. And then I can wind up just kind of like, I'll just do it like this. It seems to be a little easier to hold. So I'll come in here and I'm looking. Okay, I'm going to drop this back here because I'm kind of looking at this area here. So I'm going to drop that in there. Come on. So you can kind of see how when you look at the two, and this kind of drops back, it goes back because that drops back. So if I'm trying to make this area here go back, I'll come in here, just put it right there. See how that just got dark and it made this kind of pop? Same with around his chin. All these areas are all receding in the background. I can even put it back here if I want, but not really thick because I need that to recess back also. And I can develop this also with other colors. Now see, dark, I'm gonna have to go light color when I'm done with that. I'm gonna set this back over here. Now let's go on to these. Okay, we have this one, okay, which is all in light, but I'm forcing it to drop back. So I'm gonna pull this here. I'm gonna pull this over here, and I'm gonna do this, or try to. And if that doesn't work, then I'm just gonna grab some tape right here. Okay, so that's pretty good. Okay, so maybe. Okay, I'm gonna try to do this. These have been sitting around for a while, so that's the reason why the tape kind of curls up and stuff like that too. So that's one thing you want to keep in mind, is that your reference has to be respective of what your image is. Also, do it in black and white, leave the color out, because whenever you're printing color, you're drawn in toward the color that it is. So these won't be these happy fun colors, they will be more more representative of just the colors. So basically the colors would be browns and whites, and you know, I can't remember what else was in here, but I just don't like it. See here, got his nose. I can come in here and his nose a little bit. Pardon me. Whew. And I'm going to come here. And I'm not using a big brush. I'm using kind of a, this is a number 12. Whew. Pardon me. So I'm going to come in here, I want to drop it into his ear. And if you're working thin enough, like this pen, like I do a lot of times, you're going to find though that you're able to make the paint really translucent. Right there when I'm kind of thick, you see that? So I'm not going to worry too much about that. I'm going to drop it in here because I want to bring back this part here, come here. And again, everything I do, basically it has to be representative of things that fall back. And we definitely know the ears fall back. I'm going to rinse this off here. Add some water there so I get this kind of translucent green. Drop that back here, here. And I am working a lot of cool colors. So I'm going to call that one good. Okay, let's go to this guy. He's pretty simple. I can leave him down here. Hold on. And I always put my brushes in water. You can leave your brushes in there for, you know, a couple weeks actually if you have to. If it doesn't evaporate, you know, away from you. Okay, so there we go. I'm gonna move this color over here. Oh man, hold on a second here. Oh man, allergies or something. Okay, let's go back in here. So another thing you're also seeing is the idea of consistency. So if I'm doing it to one, I'm doing it to all five. It's a way I can do this. And this one here will have an impression of an eye, which you probably won't see, and there will be an impression here. So I'll just kind of drop that in like that. And I'm using broader strokes on this. And the reason why I am is because I don't want this to feel, you know, too detailed, because that's the problem when people start painting these small paintings. Everything has to be detailed. They keep forgetting though that you're making an impression of that image. You're not making, you know, you're not actually making the image because you're working on a two-dimensional piece of paper. So it's impossible to do that. I'm going to drop that back. because that's where his tail goes. I'm going to go like that. And for some reason, I'm going to leave this leg alone. I'm going to come back here and drop that back a little bit. Okay, so you can kind of see, respective where I'm working, what I'm doing, what I want. Okay, so of course my next color, of course, it's got to be light. Let's do this. This one I've always found kind of fun because he just was right there, you know. So I'm going to come in here, and this one I'm going to really kind of drop it down. Now notice anything, you really don't see a shape or any fur or anything like that on his body yet. Now there's some artists, what they do, they put all that kind of detail in. I don't. I still like the idea of making people, you know, really consider, you know, what, you know, that it's a painting, it's not a photograph. And that's always been a contention of mine. It's like, are you a photographer? Are you a painter? Are you a copyist? Or are you a painter? I mean, are you an artist? What? If you're a copyist, this would look photorealistic or hypo-photorealistic. And if it does, well, good for you. It's just that I don't like that kind of stuff. Because hyper-photorealism has its place, and it's a good technique to see what everybody else is doing. But it has a downside because we get trapped in it. When we get trapped in it, then we wind up sticking with just that area, and we never seem to grow past it. So I'm going to drop it in here. Come here a little bit. Still going to drop some of that back. I'll just do that. Because then when I do this background here, this feel like it'll drop in back there. I'll just there, give it a little bit of attention. Okay, let's go to this guy. And each one gets the attention it needs. Of course, you know, this is going to slow down a little bit for the simple reason that I'm going to wind up having to take each individual one more particular. A sense of color and finishing. So the first few colors do become an individual thing, or becomes a kind of a community thing. So it makes like the painting is the painting is the whole object of the game. And this is also a challenge I put to a lot of professionals I've worked with, is like, well, okay, if you're going to do this, let's see you really do it. Put forth that effort. On this one, the highlighting colors will define out this animal. And since this was a coyote, this is wintertime. Look how nice and lush that coyote's fur is. As you can tell that he's eating pretty good. He's probably going to starve for a little bit. You know, when they starve, I mean, that's when they get really lean. We see them lean around here in Arizona an awful lot. Okay, so we see that right there. Now, I think what I'm going to do, because I want it really dark, now I'm going to do opposite. I'm actually going to go in with white and bring back some of those details. Now, this is where things get kind of interesting, because, you know, I'm not really rinsing off my brush. I'm using the same water, which is, if you can see, is kind of a muddy green right now, but I've never had an issue with that. So now what I'm going to do, this is where I want to put him up. I'm going to slow down a little bit. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to just start bringing up some of these areas. And the thinner you get with this, the more in shadow it looks. Like I'll bring this up like this, and then I'll probably bring it in with a probably like a blue or something to that effect. So you can see I'm just building it back up. So you can kind of see it building up there a little bit as towards the photograph, between the photograph and the image. Again, if I was a, photorealist, this would definitely not be the way to work. If you skip your brush across, you can see how it skips, so it has an effect like that on the other end of it. So I'm going to come here. And you also have to think about where because everything's a thought out process. It's nothing about this is just random. Okay, we got so you can kind of see how it's building up to it, and that's all you want to do. I'm going to stop on this one. So you see how I worked on that one, just very, very short. I'm going to come into this one. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put this same place there. Now here, this one is and I'm definitely not going to try to hide that color. When you try to hide a color, all you're doing is covering up the work you did before, and to me it's a big waste. So I'm trying not to hide a color at the same time. Like this beautiful green underneath here. Yeah, I'm not going to try to hide that, but when I come here, I'm going to come in there and that'll get even darker there. So I'm going to come here. See, I can actually do a lot of work on this end of it here. So you can kind of see how that's happening there. It's kind of coming forward. It might seem a little stark on the camera, but that's okay. And this whole area just kind of skips down here. And you're just building up layers of paint is what you're doing. So I'm going down to here, I can kind of skip through here, but I don't want to make it too thick, so I can kind of typically I'm always pulling away from my brush. Okay. So everything is a built-up stage, no matter how you're working. Like back here, I'm gonna take paint off with my thumb. I just want to skip across there because I don't want it to be too thick. You can kind of see how it just kind of like layers in there, which I always thought was kind of neat. Okay, so we got that right there. I'm going to come in here. Give it that feel first. And then I'm going to come in. That. So you can kind of see it's starting to get that feel for it. I'll come all the way down here. Use my good old handy dandy hand for that. And at some point I'm going to have to start getting real aggressive and hitting the dark paints and stuff like that. But you can see that's it on that. Okay, so this one's to that stage. This one's to that stage. Let's go here. This will be an easy one. Okay. Right here. Come in here and notice I'm also holding that brush a little different for this one. Sometimes you have to concentrate, so I'll come in here and make sure I'm not getting paint all over my shirt. But I just bought the shirt. I'm going to come in here and... Now the reason why I'm painting like this instead of doing like brush strokes for fur is because this is so far away that if I did those as strokes, they'd look like little tiny lines, and that's not something we want. Again, as I'm doing this, my only thing I'm really worried about or wanting to worry about is just that certain part I'm working on. So if that certain part I'm working on is right here, and that's all I care to see, that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to do any more. So if I'm trying to protect, if I'm trying to come down here like so, I'm going to draw that line right there. Come here. And come here. And just remember, the whole object of the game is not to try to finish it in one setting, not to try to make it look like you think it should look right off the bat. Give it its time it's due, and it'll finish itself. Okay, I'm going to come in here, and I'll use the skip process a little bit. I'm going to lighten that up just a little bit so you can kind of see this part right here. So I'm going to blur my vision. I kind of like what I'm seeing. Okay, so this one's done. So I just move those off to the side. Now you see I got two left. So I'll do this one because I'm really liking this one. And it's going to be exciting to see where this heads. Okay. More work, bigger cup of coffee. Okay. However you want to do this is kind of up to you. You know, the whole this whole process is not necessarily about trying to make the perfect picture. Why trying to make the perfect picture? That's always curious why some people think it's got to be exact. You know, why can't you just be happy with giving people something to look at and be curious about how it was contrived, conceived, worked on? Yeah, well, there we go. These brushes are made to take a little abuse. So, but if you take care of your brushes right, the abuse you put them through, like scrubbing this way or something like that, will actually go by the wayside. Let me see here. Nope, I have more paint. Okay, like right through here. And in order to make this really kind of cool, I will bring up his markings on top of his head, which are always kind of cool. There we go. In this dark area, here we go. Notice how this takes on a different look. It takes it almost like it's in a shadow. So if I thin it out really well, I can actually create those light spots. I.e. when I put in my teal on those areas, it will be even better. And I'll drop this here so that kind of lightens that up a little bit. Here, here, here. Okay. I think this one didn't go as dark as the other one. Remember, you can always go back and repair, so if it goes on too thick the first time, wouldn't worry so much that, as I would just okay. And believe it or not, that's it for the night. So all that work that I did, which was about, let me see here, 32 minutes, was all about just these two colors or three colors, whatever I did. And the fun it was to put them all together. Let me do this here. I'll lay them all out so you can kind of see. And here you go in this one. There we go. This one. And where are you at? Oh, he's behind him. Never mind. Hold on. I'll lay them all out so you can kind of see. And then I always leave my reference like this. So that way then, when I go in, when I come back out, I won't start working right away. I'll actually sit and study these for a little bit. Okay, and that gives me the option of saying, okay, I gotta do something more to them, or I've got to just study. Okay, so let me pull this one forward here too. Okay. Okay. Well, that worked. This is what happens when you get brand new brushes. There we go. So, what do you think? This has gone on for 32 minutes, but that's how the painting process goes. Hopefully you've enjoyed this and you got something out of it. Remember, 3 minutes at the easel, 20 minutes back. You see I took my time. I kind of knew where I wanted to head with this. So this is looking pretty good. So anyway, it's going to be my coyote and wolf series. Let me see. 1, 2 coyotes, wolf, and 3 coyotes. 3 coyotes, 2 wolves. Anyway, there you go. Hope you enjoyed. Welcome to Hedgehog Academy, and hope everybody can pick up a brush and paint.